So this is episode 2. We're finished with the outside. In episode 1, we've actually finished putting all these outside sills in. Now we're inside the porch, and this is where the problem started. All of this floor, unfortunately, has rotted away where it meets the wall here. And that's from a lot of different factors, but you can see that right there pushes away. Well, they're all like that. So, first things first, I have to be able to cut away part of this floor to be able to replace each of those boards, and it has to be cut at the stringer. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. Let the games begin. Okay, the first thing I have to do is find the floor joist underneath the floor. Now the best way to do that is look to see where your nails are nailed. Those are probably nailed right in the center of the floor joist, so I want to make a mark on either side of that nail, because when I cut this, I don't want the saw to cut the nails. Okay, if you did it right, you should catch half that beam. In other words, half of that floor joist is now supporting the floor, and the other half is still there. That way you have something for the new floor to go onto. So you split it right down the middle. Okay, I got both sides cut out now, and I just had to do that because I needed to get that rotten wood out. But I have to put some more wood back down to create an even surface before I resurface this with new material. So I figured once I had everything out of the porch, I would pressure clean the screens, and now it's time to put the new floor down. Okay, I got all the prep work done, the screens all pressure cleaned, and I got the floor ready to be put back together. But the first thing I had to do was I had to sister these floor joists. What I mean by that is, especially when you do demolition work, you have to do this. So the floor joist is right here, and what I did was I tacked another board on there right next to it, or I sistered it, and I had to sister one under there to catch it. So what'll happen is you'll place this board in like this, and it'll fit in like that, so that way the board lays flat and flush. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a whole nother floor all the way across the top of this. But that is called sistering. Make sure when you do it that when you put it in, it creates a level surface, and that's just about right. Got lucky again. Booyah. After I finished sistering the floor joist, I used 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood to finish creating my subfloor. And no matter how hard you try, sometimes you got to go old school and use a handsaw. Now it's time to slide the 3/4 inch subfloor into place. Here's a trick. I had to pull up on one end, so I drove in a screw, and I grabbed a claw hammer and I pulled up, then I finished tapping it in flush. Then I used deck screws to hold it in place. Okay, I've got both pieces of 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood down, and now I'm going to test it to make sure it's strong enough. Then I'll put the floor down running perpendicular to this. Here's how you test it. Don't try this at home. Uh-oh, yeah. It works. Okay, right about here it starts to get a little funky Cole Medina time. So what you have to do is decide where you want to start your first board. And what I want to do is start my first board right at the threshold. Right here where all these bumps and outcrops are, you get to measure and accommodate all of those little bump outs. Make sure you put an X on the part you want to cut out. And measure carefully. It's a lot of cutting. So we'll see how it comes out. Here's a quick tip for getting a straight line. This is called a speed square. And let me show you how I use this. Right here where I'm taking my measurement, and this is where you kind of have to be a little, I guess you call it liberal with it. You lay the speed square down right next to where you want to put your mark. So this speed square will lay right there, and it's nice and flush. Give yourself a little bit of space in here to accommodate this uneven surface here. So come out straight, because you will fight this board forever trying to force that in there if you make that too tight. And guess what? They make caulk. Okay, here it is. Let's see if I did the math right. I would love to tell you that whole thing worked out just right, but it did not. I have to take the threshold out, cut a whole other piece. Back to the shop.